What is the sound of the end of the world? It is not a bang. It is not a roar. It is silence. Imagine waking up one morning to a world without us. No traffic. No planes overhead. No distant hum of an air conditioner. No voices. The sound of 8 billion people gone. Our cities, our monuments to ourselves, stand empty. The steel and glass towers of our ambition are suddenly just hollow shells. Waiting. This is not a story about how we vanished. A plague, a precisely targeted plague, a sudden sterilization, a silent, inexplicable event, it doesn't matter. All that matters is the result. The great silence. The age of mammals, a brief and noisy experiment, has concluded. And in the silence, something is stirring. The planet is now a puzzle with a billion empty pieces. Nature abhors a vacuum, and humanity, along with the vast majority of large-bodied mammals, has just left the largest vacuum in Earth's history. Every ecological niche we dominated is now a job-opening sign hanging on a planetary door. Wanted, apex predator. The lions, the tigers, the orcas, the wolves, all gone. Wanted, large herbivore. The cows, the elephants, the deer, the grazers that manicured the world's grasslands, gone. Wanted, global super-engineer. The position held by Homo sapiens, the creature that reshaped continents, diverted rivers, and managed the climate, now vacant. The Earth holds its breath, waiting. The few surviving birds and rodents are too scattered, too specialized, too slow to breed. They are the shell-shocked survivors, hiding in the ruins. They cannot fill the void. But the void will be filled. Not from the top down, but from the bottom up. The first responders are not majestic. They are not the eagles or the bears. They are the ones we spent our entire civilization trying to keep out. In a kitchen, on a table, a half-eaten meal sits, a relic of a vanished family. The first to find it is a housefly, then 10, then 1,000. Within a week, the room is a living, shimmering carpet of them. In the pantry, a cockroach, its antennae twitching, explores a box of cereal with newfound impunity. It is joined by its kin, a wave of chitinous brown armor pouring from the walls. This is not an invasion. It is a reclamation. We have left behind a staggering inheritance of organic matter. Our homes, our supermarkets, our garbage dumps, our farms, our abandoned livestock, and our own bodies. For the planet's smallest inhabitants, this is not an apocalypse. It is a feast. It is a paradise. A population explosion so vast it defies imagination. The world, once ours, now belongs to the cleanup crew. Why them? Why this six-legged, armor-plated dynasty that skittered in our shadows? Of all the complex life on Earth, why did the insects win the ultimate evolutionary lottery? The answer is simple. They were always the better survivors. They were just waiting for the competition to stumble. Their victory is built on a trinity of biological superpowers, honed over 400 million years of existence. The first is a piece of evolutionary magic, metamorphosis. A mammal, a bird, a reptile, when it is born, it is a miniature version of its adult. A human child competes with its parent for the same food, the same space, the same resources, for nearly 2 decades. This is an incredible waste of energy. A butterfly, however, plays a different game. It exists as 2 different animals. The first is the larva, the caterpillar, a soft-bodied, multi-legged eating machine, designed for one purpose, to consume. The second is the adult, the butterfly, an armored, winged dispersal machine, designed for one purpose, to breed. The child and the parent never compete. This 2-stage life cycle is a masterpiece of efficiency, allowing them to exploit different resources at different times, maximizing their success. Their second great advantage is the armor itself, the exoskeleton. It is not just a defensive shield. It is a personal, articulated, waterproof suit of armor that provides structure without the need for heavy internal bones. It is a platform for an array of chemical and sensory receptors. It allows a beetle to live in the scorching desert and a water strider to walk on a pond's surface tension. It is the key to their small size, and that smallness is their strength. They live in worlds within our world, in the cracks of the pavement, in the bark of a tree, in the soil beneath our feet. While we were building skyscrapers, they were mastering the planet's microfrontiers. But their most potent weapon is time. They are masters of the numbers game. Biologists call it an R strategy. A large K-strategy animal, like an elephant, invests decades into a single calf. It is a stable, long-term strategy for a stable world. But in a world of sudden, cataclysmic change, it is an evolutionary death sentence. An insect is an R strategist. A single fly can lay 500 eggs. A queen termite can lay 30,000 eggs a day. Their lifespans are short, measured in weeks or months. This means their generation time is microscopic compared to ours. For a mammal, evolution is a slow, grinding process that takes millennia. For an insect, evolution can happen in a single summer. A beneficial mutation can sweep through a population in a dozen generations, all before a human baby has even learned to walk. They are not a single species. They are a living storm of genetic experimentation, constantly adapting, constantly changing, ready to seize any opportunity. And then there are the specialists, the social insects, the big three, the ants, the termites, and the social wasps. In the new, silent world, they are the first to establish order. They were never just bugs. They were societies. For 100 million years, they have been practicing complex, large-scale cooperation. They had agriculture. Leafcutter ants have been farming fungus in vast, climate-controlled underground gardens for 50 million years. They had architecture. Termite mounds are biological skyscrapers, self-cooling and self-ventilating, built by millions of blind workers operating on a single collective chemical will. They had castes, divisions of labor, sophisticated supply chains, and mass communication via a language of pheromones. They were already running civilizations in our shadows. Now the shadow is gone. The removal of humanity is not a challenge for them. It is a liberation. It is a dam breaking. Their ancient, hyper-efficient, and ruthless societies are now free to expand, to flood the empty continents, and to begin the great work of building a new world in their own image. Imagine our greatest achievements: the timbered homes that housed our families, the great libraries that held our knowledge, the sprawling cities that were the pinnacle of our dominance. Now imagine them being eaten. The first 1,000 years of the Insectocene is not an age of creation, but of deconstruction. It is the great recycling. The first to the task are the termites. To them, our wooden world is a feast of cellulose, a banquet of unprecedented scale. A log cabin, a telephone pole, the framing of a skyscraper, the paper in a billion books. It is all just food. They are joined by legions of wood-boring beetles and a vast, silent network of fungal partners. The fungi are the scouts, invading the wood, softening it with enzymes, breaking down the tough lignin. The insects follow, their million tiny mandibles chewing, reducing our history to dust. The sound of this new world is not the wind whistling through empty buildings, but a faint, dry, collective rustling. It is the sound of our civilization being systematically disassembled, one bite at a time. And what replaces our fallen cities? We think of an anthill as a simple mound of dirt. We are wrong. In the human age, ant colonies were kept in check by our concrete, our pesticides, our freeways, our constant tilling of the soil. Now, there is nothing to stop them. The small, warring colonies of Argentine ants, which we accidentally spread across the globe, begin to link up. With no humans to fragment their territory, they merge, their chemical recognition codes shifting until they accept each other as one. A colony that was a city block becomes a county. A county becomes a state. Within 1,000 years, we see the rise of the supercolonies, single, continent-spanning ant nations. A single social entity with trillions of bodies, stretching from the ruins of California to the swamps of Florida. Their nests are not just mounds, but vast underground metropolises, shifting the soil on a geological scale. They re-engineer the land, aerating the soil, changing its chemistry, determining what can grow and what cannot. They have become the planet's new ecosystem engineers, the new dominant force shaping the face of the Earth. But not all is deconstruction. There is a bloom, a violent, beautiful explosion of life. Most of humanity's staple crops, our wheat, our corn, our rice were grasses, pollinated by the wind. Without us to plant them, they are quickly outcompete. The world that returns is a world that favors a different kind of alliance. It is a world built for the pollinators. The plants that co-evolved with bees, butterflies, moths, and beetles now have a massive advantage. The planet erupts in super blooms that last for decades. Fields, once monoculture deserts of our crops, revert to meadows of 1,000 different, specialized flowers. This triggers a new evolutionary arms race. Plants evolve more complex, more vibrant, more fragrant flowers to attract their insect partners. The insects, in turn, specialize, their bodies and behaviors evolving to match their chosen flower. The air, once choked with our emissions, is now thick with pollen and the sound of 1 trillion wings. It is a sensory explosion, a world of dizzying color and overwhelming perfume. It is the planet's celebration of its new, symbiotic freedom. There has always been a law, a hidden rule of physics and biology that has kept the insects small, skittering at our feet. It is the secret of their success, but also their ultimate limitation. It is the reason a spider will never hunt a lion. But in this new world, this new earth, what happens when that fundamental law is not just bent, but broken? The secret is not in their muscles or their armor. It is in their breathing. An insect does not have lungs. It does not have a complex circulatory system to pump oxygen-rich blood. Instead, it has a network of tiny tubes called trachea, which connect to the outside world via small holes in its exoskeleton called spiracles. This system pipes oxygen directly to the cells. It is incredibly efficient at a small scale, but it has a fatal flaw. It relies on passive diffusion. The tubes can only carry oxygen so far into the body. If an insect grew as large as a dog, its innermost cells would suffocate. This is the oxygen barrier. It is the biological prison that has kept insects small for 300 million years. But what if the prison itself could be unlocked? To understand how, we must look back to an ancient past. Back before the dinosaurs to the Carboniferous period. 300 million years ago, the Earth was a vast, swampy forest of giant trees and 100-foot-tall club mosses. And flying through these forests were monsters. Meganeura, a dragonfly with the wingspan of an eagle. Arthropleura, a millipede the size of a small car. This was a time of giants, an age when insects were the apex predators of the land. How was this possible? The air was different. The atmosphere was not 21% oxygen as it is today. It was 30%, perhaps even 35%. This oxygen-rich air supercharged their simplistic respiratory systems. It diffused deeper, faster, allowing their bodies to bypass the normal size barrier and grow to terrifying proportions. Now, look at our new world 100,000 years after our departure. In Act 3, we saw the Great Bloom, a massive, unchecked explosion of plant life. Trillions upon trillions of new trees, super meadows, and continent-spanning forests are photosynthesizing, pumping out oxygen. But critically, the large herbivores that would normally eat this plant life are gone. The termites and beetles, though numerous, cannot recycle the dead plant matter fast enough. For the first time since the Carboniferous, vast amounts of carbon are being buried before they can rot. This buried carbon is sequestered, locked away. The result? The other half of the photosynthetic equation, free oxygen, floods the atmosphere. Slowly, relentlessly, over millennia, the percentage climbs. 25%, 28%, 30%. The oxygen barrier is broken. The biological prison is unlocked. Evolution, armed with this new, enriched air and a planet of empty niches, begins its work. The results are staggering. The world's apex predators are reborn. The skies belong to the dragonflies. They are already perfect predators, 360-degree vision, 95% hunt success rate. Now, supercharged on oxygen, they grow. They become the new eagles, the new pterosaurs with wingspans of 6, 8, even 10 feet. Their serrated mandibles can shear through the thick armor of giant beetles. The social wasps, the hornets, evolve into the new wolf packs of the air. They grow to the size of hawks, their colonies building massive paper nests in the ruins of our skyscrapers, hunting in coordinated venomous swarms. On the land, the praying mantis, a patient, intelligent hunter, scales up. Imagine 19 feet tall, its raptorial forelegs capable of snatching a surviving deer or a giant rodent. It is a thinking predator, a camouflaged nightmare. The tiger beetles, already the fastest land animals on Earth pound for pound, become the new cheetahs. They are blurs of iridescent, reinforced armor, running down their prey. And in the water, the ponds and lakes, the vacuum left by fish is filled. Giant diving beetles the size of dinner plates, and the nymphs of the new Titan dragonflies, crocodile-sized aquatic terrors, become the rulers of the freshwater depths. The age of giants has returned, but this time the giants have 6 legs. We think of megafauna as a rhino, an elephant, a whale. We associate that body plan for warm blood, a spine with dominance. But that is just our bias. It is the recency effect of the Cenozoic, our age. In the grand sweep of Earth's history, it is just one possible outcome. What happens when you give the hexapod body plan, the 6-legged, armored blueprint, 30% oxygen and millions of years of evolutionary time? You get a new kind of megafauna. You get a world that is both brand new and ancient. This is adaptive radiation. The process where one ancestral form explodes into thousands of new forms to fill every conceivable, empty niche. The Earth, 5 million years after humanity, is an insect planet. The role of the large herbivore, the giraffe or the brontosaurus, is filled. Herds of giant, Titan stick insects, now the size of buses, move slowly through the high canopies. Their bodies, evolved from simple twigs, are now 40-foot-long browsing machines. On the forest floor, the new grazers are giant, heavily armored beetles. Their elytra, their hardened wing cases, have fused into an impenetrable dome-like shell. They are the new ankylosaurs, impervious to all but the most specialized predators. The predators, in turn, have evolved to meet them. The pack-hunting mantises from Act 4 are now fully social, with complex hunting strategies to topple these walking tanks. In the sandy deserts, the antlion, no longer a tiny pit digger, has become a land squid. It is an ambush predator, 50 feet wide, buried beneath the surface, its giant, sickle-like jaws the only thing visible, waiting for a Titan stick to make a mistake. The final frontier, the oceans, has also been conquered. Insects are arthropods, the same phylum as crustaceans. They simply need a reason to return to the sea. Now, with the oceans emptied of large fish and mammals, that reason is here. Marine insects like the sea strider halobates already exist. But now we see a true radiation. The larvae of certain beetles and flies evolve to be fully aquatic, breathing not with trachea, but with new, efficient gill structures evolved from their spiracles. They radiate into forms that mimic the fish that are gone. There are vast, insectal minnows and tuna, and in the deep, giant, filter-feeding aquatic moth larvae. The size of whales strain the plankton-rich seas, their forms alien and bizarre. The land, the air, and the sea are all locked in a new, complex food web. And what of intelligence? It is not the self-aware, individual-based intelligence of a primate. It is the cold, vast, collective intelligence of the hive. The social insects have not just rebuilt. They have ascended. The termite mounds are no longer mounds. They are mountain ranges. They are biologically created, silicon-based structures, miles high, that are perfectly climate-controlled. Inside, a society of billions of individuals, divided into a dozen specialized castes, farms fungus on an industrial continent-spanning scale. These structures are so vast they are geological forces, rerouting rivers and creating their own weather patterns. The ant supercolonies have become the planet's dominant cognitive force. They have domesticated hundreds of other insect species. They manage vast livestock herds of aphids, beetles, and larval forms. They wage sophisticated, large-scale wars against rival termite mountains and other ant nations, deploying complex chemical weapons, manipulated fungi as biological agents, and vast, organized armies of soldier castes. This is not a city as we would know it. It is a distributed, global sentient network. It is the new definition of civilization. Close your eyes. Listen. What do you hear? In our world, the soundscape was defined by the spine. The song of a bird, the bark of a dog, the deep call of a whale, the sound of a human voice. It was the soundtrack of the Holocene. But what is the soundtrack of the Insectocene 10 million years on? It is not silence. It is an overwhelming, deafening wall of sound. The song of Earth has changed. The dominant frequency is no longer the low register of mammals, but the high register of chitin. It is the high-pitched, percussive stridulation of millions of giant crickets and katydids, a rhythmic pulse that echoes for miles, used for territorial claims and mating calls. It is the deep, resonant, tearing buzz of the hornet hawks, a sound that signals death from above. It is the click-click-click of armored beetle herds moving through the forests, their massive, tank-like bodies a form of sonic communication. It is the faint, omnipresent, collective rustle of the termite mountains, a sound of industry on a scale we never dreamed of. It is complex, it is alien, it is beautiful, and it is loud. This is the new, vibrant song of a planet teeming with a different kind-of life. Now pull back, all the way back. See this new Earth from space. It is greener than the one we left. The atmosphere is thicker, richer in oxygen, shimmering with a vitality that is almost palpable. The scars of our civilization are gone, recycled and overgrown. But the planet is not uninhabited. The vast, continent-spanning supercolonies of the ants are visible, just as our cities were. But they are not gray patches of concrete. They are living, breathing, geometric patterns on the skin of the continents, shifting and growing. The mountain-sized termite mounds trace the equator, a new biological mountain range. The planet is stable. The biosphere is incredibly complex, more diverse than the one we dominated. Life has not just found a way. It has triumphed, in a form that is older and more resilient than our own. The insect body plan, the exoskeleton, the 6 legs, the metamorphosis, is one of the oldest and most successful experiments in the history of life on this planet. It has endured for over 400 million years. Insects were here before the first amphibian crawled onto land. They survived the Great Dying, the Permian extinction that wiped out 95% of all marine life. They survived the asteroid that killed the dinosaurs. They survived us. Our reign, the age of mammals, was just a brief, warm, chaotic interlude. This future is not an end. It is not a tragedy. It is not a dead planet. It is simply a return to form. It is a planet vibrant and thrumming with life, reclaimed by its most ancient, its most numerous, and its most enduring rulers. The age of insects has, finally and forever, begun.